interpret findings, and then you are making an argument to conclude or to position the paper in a certain ideological way. And then also you have to be based on an independent research. That's a work that is not copied from somewhere. So you see that it has got a lot of things to do. You thinking clearly what to do, you getting the data, you analyzing it, fixing your bits and pieces, and then getting it ready for a publication in a paper. This thing is not. Okay, so before you embark on it, some of the things you need to do is to ensure that you thoroughly understand what you are doing. So maybe I want to write a research paper on how to, let's say how to mount a 2.5 meter dish. I need to understand very well what I'm doing. And then you need to read carefully and look at anything that is confusing within the title or within the objectives, that you really need to thoroughly understand that. And then also, then you identify the goal. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that research? Or why are you writing that paper for publication? And then also you need to look at the deadline. What's the deadline I have? Can I meet the deadline? If I cannot, well, you can try halfway, but within yourself, you know you're not going to submit it. But if you can meet the deadline, then also you have to look at the length or the specification. Maybe it has to be a 5-page research paper or a 10-page or maybe 20 pages or more. Also, you also have to look at what are the formatting I need to consider. You don't just type anything, copy Times New Roman, and then italics, mix fonts around, and then submit it for a research publication. No, you have to look at all those things. And then also, how are you going to submit it? That's also something you need to look at. And another thing also is to look at the key points that you want to make within that research. And then these key points are going to be like your milestones. Okay, introduction, this is what I want to do. In the body, this is what I want to do. Then you go back to them again and again to ensure that you are moving along with what you intend to do. Then also, as I said, the time frame, that's like the deadline, and then the word limits. Sometimes it's interesting, you write something so long and then you realize that I need to cut a 5-page document into 2-page. That's also another headache. But when you're writing, maybe you're in the spirit, so you're writing and you have a lot of material, then now how to slash down to the word limit, even your abstract, even your conclusion, and many other things. Okay, so you need to be realistic and then plan enough time to do that research, plan enough time to write it, and then also enough time to edit it. Okay, but there's something we also need to do before we undertake the writing is, why do we want to publish the work? Why do you want to write that report and it will not sit on your PC, but you want to publish it? Number one, you want to convey something important. So for example, what I said about setting up a 2.5 meter dish, you want to convey maybe the method you have used to set it up. You want to convey it to the wider world so that they will also know something about it. Another one also is you want to share your work with many others so that they know what you are doing. Or maybe it's a point for you to change maybe your research area. Maybe you are working on in biology, you want to now get into chemistry, or so you need to publish something in that field so that that becomes a stepping stone for you to get there. And then also sometimes also to promote or stimulate debate. For instance, what is the theory underlining why methanol mazes flare up? You have done some work there and you've seen that the interpretation of your results is totally different from what other authors have done. You publish your work so that you stimulate the debate. They will also go look at your work and then they will also critique it. And then they will also look at, oh, maybe you are making sense. oh, maybe this guy is not making any sense. So you want to stimulate debate in the academic field. And then maybe another option is also you want to propose guidelines or principles or suggestions. So like if you are writing a paper on how to set up your 2.5-meter dish, maybe it's a different method or guideline you are proposing. So that becomes like a new knowledge in that field that others can look up to. Also to just educate people on maybe how to install that dish or something else. And then in academia, it also helps academics and industries to implement in real time some research work. Maybe the new or the novel way you have done or investigated something, that is something that industries could also implement. And then also another point is to get into high impact journals so that your work is cited or your work is seen in many other places or many other libraries around the world. It also helps you to build your portfolio or your recognition. They now know you that, oh, if you search for Ifya Boachi, you know that, oh, this person is an authority in maybe anthropology or something. Yeah, so they know that this year he published this paper, I published this. Or if you are looking for something on this field and you look for this author's work, you know that yes, that author is right. And then at the end of the day, it's advanced your career because they now most of the people now look up to your works and they know that your ideas or your concepts it's right. Then also credibility, and also it helps you in when you are writing, looking for fundings or collaboration. They want to look at your work, what work have you done before you are coming on board to meet other peers. Okay, so then now coming back again now to the real thing on the research work. How do you choose your research paper or the topic or the area? You need to generate new ideas, and then you also need to refine the ideas, and then you also need to rate, and then you select to go down to where you want to go. So most at times to get a topic for research work, it begins with brainstorming. Maybe you are talking with somebody or you're talking with a professor or somebody or something, and then he's talking about some work or some research. Then you begin to get an idea, okay, if this person have done this, then I could also do something around it in different ways using another method. Okay, this person have used PCA to analyze this thing. We can also use some Gaussian mixture model to also analyze it another way. And then it comes down from maybe having a broad topic, maybe a broad area, and then you narrow it down to something specific. So for instance, just this afternoon, I was reading something and then I chanced on a paper, and then I realized that that's paper or did some work in, I think in Poland. And then I realized that this idea or the way they have done it, we can look at the way they have done it so that we can also do something different with our telescope. So I quickly sent it to Wanda to also have a look at that paper. So also, it can also go from inspiration from other people's research, like what I was talking about. I read their abstract and I realized that what they have done inspired me that, okay, we can also do something in that field. And then you pick on that. Another option is also when you go for meetings or conferences. Most of the time when I go for conferences, I get a lot of ideas about research work that others have done. Then I also think that, oh, we can also do something similar. That's why I put a picture of myself there at a conference. Yeah, I didn't know who took that picture, but I later saw it after 2 years. And then I was looking very serious. Yeah. So so those are some of the ways in which you can generate the idea. And then once you have the broad idea, you narrow it down and you choose a specific topic that interests you and that meets the criteria of your assignment. And then a possible, and that topic is possible to research. And then another thing you should look out for is that idea should be original and specific, so that it will not be you copying people's work into details and then coming out of it. Those days when internet was really good, you can go away with copying, but now you cannot go away with copying. Once you finish that work and they run it through some plagiarism check, they will see that this work is 80% copied from this research work, and all the labor you have put in, you just be thrown away because you cannot publish it, or you have to be withdrawn. Okay. So after you've got your idea or your topic, then you need to now conduct some preliminary research, because you need to research to know that what I intend to do, was it done somewhere? Or was that method done somewhere? Has somebody already published on that work? So you need to conduct this preliminary research. What are your objective facts? And then what confirms those beliefs? So you realize that you need to search a whole lot of places. But now I think that the first place to check is the internet. So once you look through journals on the internet, you rate from the current year in which you are down to the very older years. And then also you look at books, and then look at reliable websites, so that you ensure that you don't miss anything on any work that was done somewhere. So for instance, I'll just give you an example again, like the paper I pulled up this afternoon. I realized that they've done something unique. I was reading, and I checked the year, and I realized that the paper was, one of their papers was published in 2019, I think January. And then I also published a paper in 2019, April. So I realized that first I thought that the ideas were so, I realized that, oh no, that's me. So I was actually looking through their paper to see whether they have made reference to what the work I've done. I realized that they've not, before I realized that, oh, the months were different. And then also when I look at the other one that I said I sent to somebody this afternoon, I realized that that paper was published in 2012. So that's already 11 years ago. And the ideas may not be so authentic again. And then there may be some modifications if we want to follow such method. Okay, so, and then you not only verify the ideas you have in mind, but look for sources that contradict your point of view. Okay, you need to look for people or other works that are against what you have done. It's very important, because you never know what will happen at your conclusion. What you set out to do may just be the opposite of what you are trying to do. So if you look at those contradicting works to what you intend to do, at the end of the day, it may help you to even conclude your work, or it may help you to explain or discuss your work. So you need to look at all these things. And then as you are doing this preliminary research, don't just search the papers, throw it away, save them, make some notes. You may need it along the line. So then also look out for anything that's very subtle for you to overlook, so that you don't overlook it. The keywords, synonyms, just search for all those things, so that you know that you have done some good preliminary research, or I don't want to call it literature review though, but you have just searched around to know the ideas you want to put out, whether they've been done somewhere else. Are there any heated debates that your work can address? Do you have a unique take on your topic? Is it so unique to what others have done? Have some recent developments built on the previous research that have been done? So you need to check out all these things. And then by the time you are checking out these things, then you are coming out with your research questions. And these research questions are what will guide you. This is what I want to do. This is what I know about it, or this is how they have done it, and this is what I would do. This is why I would do it. So those are some of the research questions that you need to start formulating at the end of your preliminary research. Okay, the work that was done by Taylor in 20 19 talked about this and that, but he did not address these aspects, or he did not look at this context. So my work will now look at this context. So by the time you do this preliminary research, you should come out, you should be getting ready to have your research questions that will lead you to the next stage. Okay, so these research questions will now lead you to develop your thesis statement. And that's the statement of your central argument. It entails the purpose and the position of your paper or your research work that you are doing. If you started with a research question, the thesis statement should be able to answer it. I think I will just show some example on the next slide. So the thesis statement should be very concise. It should be brief, and then also should be coherent. And that means that you should summarize your arguments in a sentence or two, and then you make a claim that requires further evidence or analysis within your work. And then also make the point coherent that at any time you are writing, at any time you are looking at your research paper, that statement is being answered. And then you will then probably review and refine the thesis statements as you go along. Maybe as you go look at some work and then you look at your results and trying to discuss the results, it may alter the thesis statements along the way, but just keep that focus there that this is what I intend to do. Okay, so just want to look at an example. I'm sorry, the screen is not clear for those here. This was a work done. The title is Conventional Machine Learning Based on Feature Extraction in Engineering for Detecting Pneumonia from Chest X-ray. So this work was actually led by Dr. Na, and then some of us also supported it. Now, what I want to read myself, I can't see it. So down here, so you talk about the introduction, the abstract, and blah, 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 blah. Then before you exit the introduction, you have to make the case for the thesis statement. And I can't even see because of the projection. Maybe let me look for. Yes. So in this here, you talk about in the work. Why can't I see? Albert, is there a way I can increase my I've seen some.
Yeah, I think you should be able to increase on your screen there.
On my screen.
But what I say, in this work, we demonstrate the feasibility.
That's the statement I want to read. I can't see it again myself because my screen is all just very blurred. Where is view? I'm seeing some font here, but it's only for notes, not for.
Or maybe I've zoomed it up to a extent where it is out of the screen proportionately.
Okay, so yes, anyway, those online, I'm sure you can see it clearly. So at the point, you are just trying to summarize all that has been done I said in the introduction, and then make a case, a very unique statement for your work. And that should be seen before you exit the introduction. That's by the time you are writing your work, it should be seen that statement should be there before you exit. So in this work, this is what we intend to do, and this is how we are going to do it. And we expect that this will happen. Yeah. Okay, so that is how you develop your thesis statement. So it starts by you getting reading and doing a lot of background check in many other research journals and books and stuff. Then you should then make your statement out clearly by the time you exit that introduction. Okay, so The next step is to create an outline for a research paper. It's very important. If not, you will be distracted. As you start out with your reading and everything, this is what I want to research on, then you should have an outline. It does not mean that at the end of the day, the outline will be the same, but in most cases, it remains the same. So the outline is just a list of the key topics, the arguments, and the evidence you want to include in the various sections of the paper. So again, an example there for paper we published using Ghana's 32-meter radio telescope to promote astronomy outreach. So there we have the introduction. We have the next item, which is the benefits of astronomy. I will come back to this. Then you have your outreach strategies and target visits to observatory. These are the outlines we want to see. And then I've just left some pictures there so that you know that, okay, this picture is going to explain this and all that. Conclusion. And then there are some disclosure notes for publishers. They require some of those things. And then you have your references. So the structure outline will help to make the writing process much more efficient. And then also makes it also another point also where I see it's important is it makes it distributed. So if you are working with a group of people, you can distribute the outline to them. Maybe, Thelma, you look at the benefits of astronomy. Albert, you look at the research method so that the workload does not become too much in a burden or in one person's head. Okay. So you can use some, now that we have various AI tools like ChatGPT, maybe you can use it to just brainstorm to know some of the outline to have. But definitely you're not going to use the ChatGPT to write though, but you're just using it to generate some kind of outline that you intend to have within your paper. Yeah, there's a note there. It said that it would be an offense. It said, however, trying to pass off AI-generated text as your own work is widely considered plagiarism. And then this offense will be recognized by your universities, plagiarism checker, or AI detector. Most universities now have these systems because they know you guys are there. You just use ChatGPT or copy somebody's and dump it. And so they also know, so they also get this. But all the same, anyway, that's fine. Let's leave that story. Okay, so you need to check it so that you don't just copy a work somewhere, ChatGPT, everything, you dump it there. Even if you ask it to generate certain things, you can still modify it so that it becomes your own work. Okay, so that's about the outline. Then you get to starting to write your first draft. So your first draft is basically not going to be perfect, but that's where you put your ideas and your thoughts at the various sessions. It may all go on simultaneously. If you say that you're just going to start with introduction, I want to finish introduction before I move to the next one. You'll be stuck. But if, let's say, you're writing introduction, you have some ideas on methodology, because you have the structure there, you go put it there. That's just a draft. It may not be readable to anyone, but at least it makes your ideas coherent. You are doing something, you get some work, you realize that this could be within your results, you realize this could be a very good point for conclusion. You put that statement there. And then you get back again to your introduction and all that. So it maintains forward momentum. You write now and you perfect later. You don't try to perfect everything at the beginning. So like, I'm trying to write the introduction. I want to have all my references and pictures and graphs, everything introduction perfect. No, you will not be able to finish. So you go to and fro until you get it. So paying attention to the clear organization and the logical lineup. So as you are writing the first draft, look at the logic. What am I trying to do in this research paper? Is that logic going through? Or it is disjointed? If it's disjointed, then you need to try to fix it. So express your ideas as clearly as possible so you know what you are trying to say when you come back to the text. If you don't do it well, you come back maybe after 2 weeks, you'll be confused. What is there? You say, what is this? Okay. And then also, you don't need to start by writing the introduction. As I said, begin where feels most natural for you. So either maybe you feel like the work I'm doing, I've got a lot of ideas on the methodology. I want to write that. So you fix that while you come back to introduction, or you go back to conclusion, anything like that. So, and as you write these first drafts, you realize that you have a lot of texts hovering around. Don't delete them, but you can just make various versions of it, or you copy them into a large place. So sometimes when I'm writing, I just open a very big, clueless, untitled documents, and then the bigger ideas I have, I just dump them there with their sketchy or small references. Then I go back and then I refine. So there are points that you will need those statements there. So you don't need to completely delete them. Okay, so as you write, you also need to look at your paragraph structure. It's something that's most of us find it difficult. Most of us who have not done English or social science, we find it difficult because we are science engineering people. So it's difficult to build a logic within a paragraph. But you should try as much as possible to get the basic blocks of it. So for example, I have a small essay here that was talking about George Orwell's 1946 essay on politics and English language. And then you see that the text there is in various colors. And then the first is just introducing the idea to be explored in the paragraph. So George Orwell's 1946 essay has had an enduring impact on thought about the relationship between politics and language. That is just an introduction to the paragraph. Then the next one is this impact is particularly obvious in light of various blah, blah. So it's now bringing specific evidence, okay, to highlight that introduction that was given. And then you now talk about, for example, consider Mark Falco's 2009 article. So now it's now bringing this example to explain again what was said in the previous sentence and then the first sentence. And then you are able to conclude. So you see, the last one is talking about even 63 years after its publication, Orwell's essay is emulated by blah, blah, blah. So now you see that within that paragraph, you have all your concise stuff within there. As you write, you should also ensure that you cite your sources. If not, you finish and then they don't, is that what? Yeah, yes. You don't know who you used. Yes. I remember when I was finishing my PhD, my writer, some of the text, I realized that no, this is not my text, but I can't remember where I picked the sentence from. I really knew that this is not this sentence that's not how I write my sentence. So it's not mine. Yes, because I did not keep track of some of those things. So you should ensure that you keep track. Anywhere you copy something, just put the reference. So since then, I always have, I don't joke with that. If I copy a line of text somewhere, I just try to put the reference. If it's not a full reference, even a web link, just for me, the day I need to really work on that reference so that you go back and know that, oh, I pick it from this work and all that. So citation basically is in two folds. Within the text, you have your citation, for instance, GABA 2012. And then at the end of the day, it should also appear as references. There are several tools that you can use for your citation. And also depending on your journal you want to publish, whether you want it to be APA or MLA, and several citation styles. Depending on the journal you are writing, that is how they will dictate it. So you follow their method, and then you ensure that you have your citations done well. You can use if you are using LaTeX, I find it's now easier to do your citation in LaTeX, because once you just go look for the BibTeX of that document and you paste it there, anywhere you go and the style changes, the BibTeX still remains the same. And then there's another one. I just forgot the name. Before we were using LaTeX. Mendeley. Okay, yes. So Mendeley. So you can also get used to Mendeley. And then you can also get used to Mendeley and then also keep to that. So you always need to just be consistent on what you need to do and then just master it. Okay. Okay, so in writing the introduction, look at the 3 questions. What am I writing about? Why am I doing it? And how am I doing it? So those are the specific things you want to look out in your introduction. The rest of the explanation is in the text there. I don't want to read them there too much. Okay. Then also now, while you're now writing the body of text, you need to make it compelling. That means that you need to be able to ensure that you're writing links with the various paragraphs in the work. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2 should link to it. It shouldn't be disjointed, but mostly when you copy from various places and you just dump them together, at the end of the day, you read it and you realize yourself that, no, this is not linking, or it's not making sense. If it's not making sense, create another version and delete those ones that are problematic and try to start afresh so that you don't lose track. So stay on track and check your topic sentences against the thesis statement that you started with, and then the topic sentences against each other, and then whether there are similarities or whether there's logical ordering within them, and then each sentence against the topic sentence of that paragraph. So as you write, you read again to ensure that you are able to make the logic flow within the write-up. So writing the conclusion is designed to help your reader out of the paper's argument, giving them a sense of finality. Most people, or most of us, don't know how to write a good conclusion. So me, sometimes I write and then I just can't conclude. I have to give it to somebody to see, just read through the work and see whether this conclusion I'm making is right. And then and that's why also it's good to do peer review, because when you do that, people are able to help you get the real things that should be in the conclusion. So in the conclusion, you should trace the course of the paper, emphasizing how it all comes together to prove your thesis statement. So that statement you made at you are trying to piece it all together, that, oh, it is much easier to set up this using this method and all that. And so give the paper a sense of finality by making sure the reader understands how you settle the issues raised within the introduction. And then you might also discuss the more general consequences of the arguments the paper outlines. For instance, you suggest any questions the paper's argument raises, but cannot or does not try to address. Maybe the paper raised a question and he has answered it. You should see that answer in the conclusion. The paper raised a question, it cannot answer it. It should be there in the conclusion. However, we could not find a basis for making this argument or so and so, or this could be the reason for why this is there. So that could be one way of concluding your work. You might also discuss the more general consequences of the argument and then within that. Another thing that you should not do in the conclusion is to offer new arguments or essential information. Maybe you are just offering totally new arguments that are not related to your work, or that are just a diversion from what you set out to do. And then you shouldn't take up any more space than necessary. You don't go and just copy the text from maybe the discussion and just dump it in a conclusion. No, it should be in a different, even if you want to state that, it should be in a summarized version, and the words should also be different. And then you begin with stock phrases that signal that you are ending the paper. As you shouldn't say in conclusion. So you're already in conclusion. So you shouldn't say in conclusion. Yeah. Or finally, this paper has not done this. No, you should find other phrases to say it without bringing that same thing. Okay, then you look at your second draft. So this ends your first draft. After all the way to conclusion ends your first draft. Then your second draft. That means that you have finished the first draft. You look at it, you realize that no, certain things are not moving on well. Just save another version. Just don't use the same version, and then you start changing things all over again. Because at the point in time, you may get confused and you may want to go back to the original version. So let the second draft be totally new, and then you check how your vision of the paper lines up with the first draft, and more importantly, that your paper still answers the assignment. So that's why you should save it as a different, totally new document, not just use this old one and then mutilate it. Because if you mutilate it, you cannot check it again with what you set out to do in the first place. And then also, you should identify any assumptions that might require more substantial justification. So this is the point where it's nice, but it's also challenging. It's nice. Maybe this is a point where you give the work out to somebody to read. Somebody, maybe part of the work, he reads it and say, no, this place, we could say more about this, about that. By the time you finish, you realize that you have dug out a lot of new information that makes your paper more appealing. And sometimes also, it just throws you out of gear, especially when you're fighting for your supervisors. When they bring so much, they say, oh, you need to add this, you need to add this, you need to add it. Yeah, it's like you're changing the whole thing. But it's always good to maintain the first draft, because you can always go back and check it, whether the second draft is looking like what we intend to do. Okay. Then keeping your reader's perspective foremost in mind, and remove these points if you cannot substantiate them further. So if the new points, the new assumptions that you are bringing on board, you cannot substantiate them, at the end of the day, you may just have to remove them so that you are safe. And then be open to rearranging your ideas. In the second draft, be open to rearranging your ideas. Maybe that's where you realize that in the introduction, the fourth paragraph should have been the second paragraph. So you should rearrange it, and then check whether any section feels out of place, and whether your ideas could be better organized. So in the second draft, you read generally with a very open mind, trying to get to the end and see whether the whole paper is making sense or not, or you may need to rearrange it so that it is organized well. If you find that old ideas do not fit as well as you anticipated, you should cut them out or condense them. You might also find that new and well-suited ideas occurred during the writing of the first draft, and you can now include them in your second draft. So you may have some new ideas, maybe on discussion, that you realize that, oh, I'm just talking too much about this. I should rather just summarize it, and then you move on. So that leads us to the revision process proper. So after the first draft, second draft, then you are looking at the revision process. You read at least 3 times. You send it to co-authors for reading. You send it to colleagues to read. You send it to those who are better off in English. And that's what I mostly do. Those who I think that they can write better English than me, I send it to them to read it and see whether there's logic there, whether the senses, the tenses are right and all that. And Or you can send it to professional proofreaders and pay them something for them to read for you. Maybe there may be some AI proofreaders also you can use. As you work and you use Grammarly also, Pearl too, it also helps you to check the sentences and this along the line so that you don't have to finish before. So you can just install Grammarly as on your machine. It comes, anything you're writing, it just comes and then it corrects the sentences, or sometimes it gives you suggestions to correct them before you get to the end. Okay, so when you have done this revision process and you are sure that basically, according to 2 or 3 witnesses, this work is sensible to publish, then you need to look at how to select your journal. You might have selected your journal at the beginning, but even at the end of the work, you can still select your journal again. Which one should I choose for my paper? Which there are several journals, thousands, if not millions of journals, and all of them are places you can publish, but you have to look at the scope of that journal. Does my work fit in the scope of this journal? So for you to select the journal, you should look at the indexing of the journal. Where is it indexed and what is its impact? Most journals will have impact factor 5.1. Is there something higher than 5? Some are higher than 5. You don't know the impact factor. Yeah. So most times 5 is considered like the very high impact journals. Some are 4, some are 3, some are 2, some are 1, some are 0.2, 0.1, and so many. So you want to look at that indexing. Where is it indexed? Is it on Google's Scholar? Is it on Scopus? Is it on several places where they can index your journal? So you need to look at that. And then your impact, and then your open access. Can many researchers easily get access to my work? Because in the first place, you are writing for people to know about your idea or to know about your new discovery. Where if you publish it in this place and people have to pay $200 in Ghana to download it, ask yourself how many people will pay $200 in Ghana to download that paper. So Johnny, me, that's what I always say. When I see a paper and they say I should pay, I say, why should I pay this money for just one paper? So yeah, but you, the one publishing, should be concerned about those things. And then especially the impact, because at the end of the day, you'll be graded as a researcher based on the impact of your work. One day will come. For now, you may not find it important. By the time will come, if you are still in academia or you are still in research, they will want to look at the impact of the journals you publish in. Are they just Bola journal somewhere you just publish journals that is somewhere nobody even cares to read about it, or it's just full of mistakes and all those things? So you should look at the impact before you publish, and then whether that journal is peer reviewed. That means that it's not just a one-man desk, you send the journal and they publish it the next day. No, but did they give it to other people to also read and give suggestions? That's also part of the review process when you get to that point. So do they read it? Do they give you suggestions? You also look at the peer review process. And then I talk about the scope of the journal. Maybe the journal is in instrumentation and you want to bring something on history. History will not fit in. When you send it, they'll just throw it away. So for you not to let them throw your work away, don't even send it. So you read the scope of the journal. And then also of late, most of us look at the time to first decision. If the journal you submit a work for, like 6 months, they have not said anything to you, oh, this paper is good, we want to publish it, or it's not, we want to publish it. So for 6 months, they are just holding the journal there and the paper, the manuscript and they're not saying anything, this all counts in why you should not publish there. But if a journal you send and then in at least 2-3 weeks they respond, they say, okay, we got your journal, we send it to editors, and then in 2 months the editors get back to you, say, oh, your journal is good, but go and change this ABCD. That is fine. If not, they are wasting your time. So all these things you have to consider before you know that I want to publish my journal in A&A. A&A is astronomy and astrophysics, or I want to publish my journal in geophysics journal, or I want to publish my journal in something engineering and all that. Okay. Another tool that of late you can use is to get to the bigger journal and then look for the journal suggester. So for instance, this one is Springer Nature. Springer Nature is a house of several journals under the same organization. Okay, so you can just put in your manuscript title and then your abstract and then use your subject area. Then it will give you the list of journals within that Springer Nature family where you could publish your work. Okay, so it helps you to know that, oh, maybe the one I'm considering is not even in line with the scope. This one is better. This one is better. So you give you like 3-4 examples to use. A friend told me something. It's maybe you may not need to do it, but he said that he does that, and then when he gets like 3-4 journals, he submit the paper to all of them at the same time. The one that responds first, then he go along with that one. The one who doesn't respond, he leaves them. By the time they respond, another one is going on with it. So you just ignore their emails. But well, you may not need to do that though. But yeah. Okay, so after you selected your research journal, then you need to select the research paper checklist. You need to work on the checklist. You need to read the instructions they are giving to you as an author to submit your work and check it. Okay, they say your abstract should be 250 works. Is my abstract 250 works? You check. They said that I should have keywords, 5 keywords. I've got my 5 keywords. Do my 5 keywords really talk about the main ideas in my work, or the things that when people search on the internet, they will be led to this journal? Okay, those are the keywords. And then also the impact, the novelty, the conclusion. There are a lot of things that you can look out for in this. And then also the next thing is the typesetting. The typesetting have to be concise with the journal. If not, they will just throw your manuscript back to you. So the typesetting, you cannot just do anything and go away. You have to follow exactly how they want it done. Then some journals, they are easy to go. They will tell you just bring any typesetting or format. They will format it themselves. But these are the journals that are really under stress with a lot of publications. No, you have to follow what they want you to follow so that they will not have to do a lot of editing on your work. Okay, and then I talk about the referencing along the line. Some of them will give you the references style, maybe MLA, APA, and you have to follow the font they gave you, the size they gave you, and all that. Okay. Okay, so the peer review process again. Now this is a peer review process within the article. So this peer review is not the one within your colleagues. So this is just an example of a Wiley publishing house. So as the author, you submit your article, and then the article is assessed by the editor. So there's this big chief editor sitting under under that journal. So when you submit your article, this chief editor will have to quickly read it and decide 2 things: either to reject it or to ask you to send it to reviewers. So this is the first headache when you submit your paper for publication as researchers. You're just praying that it doesn't pass through here and then gets rejected. I remember I submitted a paper before that was rejected in like 3 hours. And I told Dr. Chu that, look, this is bullshit. How can you reject a paper in 3 hours? That's you never even read it. Or maybe they use some AI algorithm to just throw it out. Yeah. But I believe that the paper was within their scope. But well, anyway, it's all part of the publication process. These are all things that you go through. So if they don't reject it, then the article is sent to the reviewers. So the reviewers will mostly be 2 people who are also researchers in that field. Okay, they don't need to know you, or most of the time you do what is called double blind. So you, at the time you are submitting the article, you have to remove your name from it. You have to remove all your co-authors from the paper, and then just submit it so that it's not be like black money. So this guy Rafael, I know him, I will mafia him. Once he sends his paper, no. So as at the time you send it, you remove your name so that the one reviewing will don't know who you are, so that he can just do an objective assessment of that paper that you have written. Okay, so then the reviews are assessed by the editor. So when they do their review, they send it back to the editor, and then there are things that will happen from it. Either the editor would say that, okay, they send it back to the author and say that, oh, you need to revise based on what the reviewers have said. Maybe your conclusion, you talk about this, they'll ask you, can you substantiate this by some evidence? Or maybe you will say that, can you suggest other things you need to add to explain this thing? Or your introduction, they will tell you, no, you didn't do thorough literature review. You should go back and check, did you check this work and all those things? So they tell you they give you those revisions to do. And then also the author will now submit the revised manuscript back again. So they give you some either 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months. That's what Madam is doing now. So like he has got the paper, has got to the first stage, and then they ask her to do some review. So yeah, they'll give you some time for you to do that and then return it to them. So when you return, then it comes back again to this option again. Or after the reviews are assessed by the editor may decide to reject it, to reject the paper based on the reviews. Maybe the reviewers all say that, oh, this paper is not good to be published. There's nothing new in it. And then they reject it at that point. Or the editor will accept it and then they will start publishing it. Okay, so these are the various ways that the peer review process work. And then as you write your work, you should expect this at the end of it. You do something nice, you spend so much time on it, you get to this point, the first one that they can slap you is they say, they are rejecting it. And then you go home crying, but you shouldn't cry, just go and submit it to another journal, or look at the objective reviews that were given. Okay, at this point, where is it? These reviews that the chief editor looks at, maybe there were some objective reasons given why whether it is rejected. So go back, read those reviews and make changes, and maybe either submit the paper to another journal or submit it to the same people again. If you are so sure that this is where you want to publish, you submit it to the same people again. Okay, so I just want to show you one published paper that I worked on. Actually, this was my very first good publication from my PhD. And then it went through a lot of review because it is co-authored. A lot of people along the line helped me apart from my supervisors, they didn't have time to. So if it was my supervisor, that paper they will not be published because these were my supervisors on the work. So Shamila, Goodheart, Kudiche, MG Horror. They never even have time to look at it until it was accepted for publication before Professor Melvin. Okay, look at it. And then, yeah, but that's it. Yeah, but so when the paper is published, this is how the journal puts it inside their index. I thought it's rough. I thought it's rough. That was I am. Okay, so that's it. And then also you have the option of what's the name? What's the name of this? Open access. Open access. That means that you, the author, have to pay for it so that others can access it freely. Oh, I went back. Oh, where is it? Why can't I even? Okay. Yeah, so, or sometimes your institution pays for it. There are several options there for you to look at. And then when it's published, then you can then look at it from time to time, the number of people that have. So like this paper, there were 17 citations so far, and then 600 and something people have viewed it. And then you can then look at the outline of that paper is here. You can just look at it and all that. And this paper is open access, so that means you can just download it and read it and then see. Okay. So I took most of my references from script work, and then thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr.
You're
Proven.
good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks
Okay.
so much.
Do a QR code. So next time I will do that.
Say that again.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's a peer review question, and I've answered it, so
Okay.
it's okay.
All right, thanks. Okay, so colleagues, it's time for questions.
Yes, so any questions from here? If you want to ask. No questions. Okay. And you have a question and wonder.
No, not a question.
Okay, yes.
Okay, those in person, can you come closer to the microphone so that we can hear you? Those on online.
Okay, no. Okay, he will just ask himself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, right.
So, what's Dr. Proven in relation to the referencing? You said you copied the link to from where you maybe the link to wherever you did the referencing from, right? So at which point do you attach it to the whole document? My question.
Okay, Dr. Proven, over to you. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, so I'm saying I want to just use one example to explain it. For instance, okay, so this I think I still have this paper on this place. Hey, Honami, can you give me your power? Is it? It's not.